All right, good morning. Peace and blessings, love and light to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on my 7th annual Worst Landlord Watchlist. I can't believe it's been 7 years, but it is my 7th. This list spotlights and shames the most egregiously negligent property owners in the city. The worst landlords are determined by the number of widespread, persistent, dangerous housing violations in the buildings over the past year. Each has this violation on the worst landlord list. Worst landlord watch list. Each building is in disrepair. Each landlord is putting profit over people, represents New Yorkers suffering in their homes. This year we're seeing new highs on the list, new lows for landlord conduct. And our worst landlords this year are, unfortunately, making history. Our top 2 landlords have more violations than anyone in the list's history, and both represent the same company taking advantage of tenants all across the city. Number 1, Margaret Brunn. And number 2, Donald Hastings. Are making history as they are both associated with the same company, A&E Real Estate Holdings. Wow. Together, they account for 60 buildings and an average of over nearly 9,000 open violations during the list assessment period last year. 9,000. Wow. This is the first known instance of the top 2 landlords representing the same entity, and is demonstration of both the breadth of the violations at their properties and the means with which corporate entities seek to avoid accountability with the different LLCs and head offices in city records. We come across this all the time, folks trying to obscure who the owners are. If A&E sounds familiar, it's because they have hundreds of properties in total, and because last week the city settled a lawsuit with A&E Real Estate which will mandate repairs across some of their portfolio. But many more properties and hazards exist not only across their portfolio, but across our entire list. With an administration committed to housing justice, finally, tenant support, and using all of the tools able to deliver, I am reinvigorated by the change we can create. This year we're taking a new step to accountability. Taking a new step in accountability. This list is most powerful when used for organizing, and I'm hitting the streets with hundreds of tenants to give New Yorkers the tools they need to take action. Throughout this week, volunteers with Our Time and Housing Justice for All, are canvassing buildings owned by A&E, speaking with tenants to help them organize and urge them to attend the upcoming rental ripoff hearings hosted by the Mamdani administration. Woo! If I'm a tenant, I'm an organizer by training, specifically around tenants and housing. This area used to be where I organized already. Nice.
Welcome back.
It's how my career started, and I'm excited to be back out knocking on doors. With the resources of the city and the energy of tenants who are fed up with dangerous conditions and rising rents, we can overhaul not only buildings, but the entire system that has created this housing crisis, putting profits over people. Violations as compiled and categorized by the Department of Housing Preservation and Development can include issues such as heat and hot water outages, which on a day-to-day, you can see how deadly that can become, rodent infestation issues, and collapsing infrastructure. Sadly, over the past few years, we've seen multiple collapses of buildings or partial collapses due to infrastructure issues. We'll hear soon for some tenants facing these conditions. Long-term success in improving housing conditions will require sustained investment in enforcement, including reversing the cuts the prior administration made to staffing from the Department of Housing Preservation and Development and from the Department of Buildings. Issues with conditions broadly, and he specifically, are not only among private landlords, as has been the case with, I think, every year since this list was introduced. The New York City Housing Authority has demonstrated an inability to improve conditions. They would far surpass anyone on the list, but they're public. In November of 2025, there was about 612,000 open work orders, near identical number to the previous year. They're in a category all by themselves. Perpetual mismanagement of nature has made the city itself the worst overall landlord for hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers. For every other tenant in our city, I encourage you to get on landlordwatchlist.com. Check out if your building is there or your landlord. Get the information that's needed and get organized. We were happy that we were able to pass some bills in the last council based on the work we did on the watch list. We have a couple more bills that we're hoping that we get passed this year to strengthen the list even more. And we will say, even though there was a settlement with A&E, this building was not a part of the settlement. And so there are still repairs that need to be done here by our history-making top two, Margaret Brunn and Donald Hensting. There's also some frequent flyers that we see every year, like Barry Singer and David Tettenbaum. I can't say they've gotten better. There are some landlords who have gotten worse, that have surpassed them. So next we'll hear from a tenant, a leader, followed up by the council member of this district, Honorable Rita Joseph. Right now we'll hear from Jumaane, tenant leader. All right.
Hi, my name is Jumaane, and I am a tenant in this building. A&E being placed on the worst landlords list is not shocking. In the short time my partner and I have lived here, the only way A&E would uphold their duty as a landlord, including treating the roach infestation in our apartment, was through litigation. After countless unanswered emails and phone calls, we had to turn to the courts, which meant spending months in litigation, taking time off of work, and continually following up to get A&E to do their legal duty. The same is true for many of my neighbors, who have lived here much longer than my partner and I have, and who have had to deal with infestations of mice, mold, and roaches, and inconsistent heating ever since A&E took ownership of this building. Neighbors who use mobility aids have been stranded in the lobby when the elevator goes out. Tenants dread doing laundry because our basement is overrun with rats. This building is home to families, elders, and neighbors who are all trying to simply live in habitable conditions. A&E engages in targeted tenant harassment against my neighbors who have lived in this building for decades. They strategically buy rent-stabilized buildings and neglect repairs in hoping of pushing out our black and brown neighbors in order to turn a profit. This building isn't an excuse to line Margaret Brunn and Douglas Eisenberg's pockets. This place is people's home, my home, that A&E continues to neglect. It wasn't until yesterday, on the eve of this press conference, A&E reached out to tenants to acknowledge repairs that have been waiting months and in some cases years to be addressed. Our building's disrepair has been so egregious we were placed on HPD's alternative enforcement program 1 year ago. There has been an order to correct on our front door for months that A&E ignores and AEP refuses to enforce. This building and my neighbors deserve city agencies that actually hold landlords like A&E accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next up, we have our awesome council member Rita Joseph.
Thank you, Public Advocate. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for braving the cold to be here in morning in support of tenants' rights. I'm Councilmember Joseph, representing this district right here in Flatbush. I want to start by thanking the Public Advocates for his tireless effort to spotlight the shame, the landlords who make life so difficult for tenants in my district and across the city. The owners of this building, Margaret Brunson, Brian Garland, and the rest of A&E have a lot to answer for just this past Friday. This administration announced a settlement, restitution for 14 buildings where city found mistreatment, neglect, violation of poor living conditions. That settlement doesn't even apply to this building or many others to this landlord's portfolio across the city, where tenants continue to fight just for the bare minimum. Not even 2 weeks ago, 80 Woodruff failed a rat inspection for the 5th time since 2018. The building was also in the AEP program for almost a full year. The program is supposed to force negligent landlords to make repairs within few months. But as of today, this building has 313 open violations, including 73 Class C violations. That means 73 immediately hazardous violations the tenants here have to live with. Shame. 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 Just since November, HPD has issued 21 violations here for things like rats, mice, cracked walls and floors, overflowing garbage, leaky radiators, household items, and garbage left out in the hallways. Fire hazard, roach, moles, chipping paint, I could keep going, but I think you get the idea. Unfortunately, thousands of tenants across my district are dealing with the same issues. Landlord-tenants issues are constantly represent the largest numbers of complaints my office receive in the 11226 zip code. Record one of the highest rates of eviction in this entire city. We should not be afraid to call what it is: racism and abuse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member.